Hello, Peter Boolkah here, and welcome to today's edition of The Transition Guy. Now, in today's episode, I want to look at an area that really kills business performance, and that's mental health. See, very often when people sort of talk to you about, okay, you need to be in peak performance, so often we hear you need to get a personal trainer, you need to go to the gym, you need to be physically fit. They'll talk about nutrition. Yeah, you need to make sure you're eating all the right stuff so you can perform at your very best, which are both of those I do totally agree with. You do need to go to the sort of a gym, have a personal trainer, and you definitely need to look at nutrition, because at the end of the day, what we put in our body fuels our body, and at the end of the day, if we eat shit, there is no sort of surprise that perhaps our performance isn't at its peak. But very often what gets neglected, and this really does concern me, is the whole area around mental well-being. I don't know what it's like for the people in the rest of the world. I know that in the UK we have this really annoying attitude towards having a stiff upper lip. We must just get through it and everything, and that's all well and good. But the reality is your brain is your brain. It gets battered. It really does. When you think about it, we are human. We're emotional people. We get affected by stuff. Whether we want to believe it or not, yeah, we connect with people, we connect with things. And so often when I come across business owners, they have so much baggage, it is unbelievable. And a lot of their sort of future self is very much been driven by their former self. And even very much so their child self. And I always am a great advocate of actually getting a professional on board, a professional on your team that can help you with the mental side of your life. Now, I love a quote that Verne Harnish did years and years ago, where he said, most people save up for a college fund in the US. They're far better saving up and sending the kids to see a psychotherapist, a psychologist for a year, than sending them to college. And I gave that some thought actually, and to be honest with you, he's right, because you think about it, when you're raising your kids in your environment, up to about the age of 4, you've got full control over that environment. But when they start going to sort of school, that's it. Everything is out of your hands. And actually from teacher interaction, which in many instances is absolutely positive, but again, for a lot of other people out there, the whole schooling process, the interaction with teachers can be very negative, as it can be with hanging out with kids in school. Some kids in school have got a great positive influence on you. Others may have had such a negative influence. You know what it's like. There's bullying that goes on, name calling, etc. And all this can have a profound impact on who we are as people. And very often when people get into business, they haven't dealt with their earlier challenges, their earlier troubles, and that inhibits performance, because actually the decisions we should be making we're not able to make because we've got anchors that really are holding us back to the past. And even so much so, okay, we go back to the past, let's look at more the present. The reality is, when we look at today's world in which we live, it's a frantic world. We're operating at such a pace, everything is happening. The actual demands on our brains is far greater than it's ever been. You could go back 60, 70 years and work very hard and perhaps not use your brain as much and make good money and make a good living and be successful. The reality is the day in which we sort of live in, this era, we call it the knowledge age, the knowledge worker age. And it's all about information. So we've got to have a brain that's equipped to be able to deal with information. So our brain is buzzing 24/7. There's no switch off. When we leave our workplace, there's social media, there's this. We're not permanently on society. I mean, look at it when you go on the tube. What do people do? Do they relax and just listen to a book, read a book? One or two people may. The majority of people, they're on their phone. They're on their tablets. They can't wait in the UK for the tube to come into the station because they've got like 1 minute of Wi-Fi. Let's have a quick catch up on what we've missed going between one station to the next. It's becoming more and more, but all that stuff really does have an impact on your brain. as do family relationships, etc. Everything just impacts. And unless you take care of your brain, unless you take care of your mental well-being, no matter what you do physically or nutritionally, that's not going to have a maximum impact. So you've got to start thinking, all right, what is it I need to do? I mean, I've got clients all the time that I work with, and they've got troubles in their life. They really do. It's not about money related. It can be relationship related, whatever. And because they've got this strife, they're not good when they go to work, because this stuff is weighing on them. They've got stuff what they're thinking about. It's just affecting their performance. Depression's a big thing in business. And the reality is, if you're leading your team, you are running the business, and actually your people look up to you. They look up to you for leadership, not leadership. So you owe it to yourself to go out there and be the best possible version of yourself you can be. But also you need to make sure that you're in tip-top condition, because other people have put their lives and trust in you. Now, one of the best ways you can do that is, well, I always advocate, have a psychotherapist. Have a really good psychotherapist that you can go to, you can speak to, and you can work through your challenges. I mean, I've had one for years, absolutely brilliant. I think one of the great things about having a psychotherapist for me is that the fact that I have someone to talk to. I've got someone that I can go and I can just dump my shit on, as opposed to you go home and let's say your partner's at home and all you do is you dump your shit on that person. That's the quickest way to ruin that relationship. So it's not before it used to be a big stigma, oh yeah, mental health, we can't talk about it. I think mental health, we should talk about it. And if you do feel overwhelmed, if you do feel depressed, if you do feel anxiety, which so many people do, please do the responsible thing. Go out there and find some professional help, because it tends never to go away by itself. And I promise you this, pills tend not to be the answer. Everything that you have that is really playing on your mind, that can be resolved. But you've got to work through with a professional to resolve it. And the last thing you want are your patterns repeating themselves, where things just come back and you do the same behaviours, because you're driven by the same sort of mental conditioning that you've always had. Now, if something I've talked about today really does resonate with you, you're feeling that perhaps, you know what, I need to do some work on my mental well-being, but I need someone to talk to, find out what the best steps for me are, head over to Boolkah.com and get in contact. Well, thank you. That's all for today's episode. It's great having you on board. And remember, failing to learn is learning to fail.